Okay, so good evening, everyone. Guten Abend, guten Tag,
Ja,
and
guten Abend.
welcome. Welcome to today's panel discussion of the 8th edition of the European Film Commission in South Africa, European Film Festival in South Africa. So for those of you who have not yet seen this intimate documentary, it centers the lives and experiences of an unconventional school teacher, Mr. Bachmann, who's with us today, and his students. So their lived realities, of course, invite us into this intimate documentary. We learn about them, about their diverse backgrounds and cultures and religions. But it's also a film where we see intersections. So there's an intersection with Mr. Bachmann's own life and this industrial town in Germany. So for today, we're really thrilled to be having a conversation around sense and sensitivity in education. And it really is our honor to have you with us this evening, Mr. Bachmann. So a warm welcome to you. I also want to welcome Metcalfe, as well as Andisiwe, Hlungwane. And just to say to those of you who have joined us, the bios are all online. We want you to get straight into the discussion so that we can hear from Mr. Bachmann and so that we have time towards the end to engage with the audience members. So that's very important. So please don't leave. We will have a Q&A. We're inviting your questions. Please feel free to use the chat function. We will monitor it. And so please feel free to put whatever question you have into the chat section. And we will now proceed. Mr. Bachmann, are you ready?
Yes.
Wonderful. So earlier on, we were discussing just for you to please just share with us what really inspired you to turn these experiences of people and their lives into film? What made you accept, invited documentary filmmaker to tell the story?
I like this people, this pupil. I worked there more than 20 years in Stadt Allendorf, and all generations of pupils were different, but they have one thing similar. One thing was quite emotionally good for me. These people came from all over the world in this small city, and they had the possibility. The parents of the children had the possibility to find a job in the middle of Hessen, on countryside, in the middle of your steppe. You must imagine there were some factories. Asterix and Obelix built a big factory, and all people could work there in this factory and had enough money to buy a Mercedes-Benz or a Porsche, or to buy enough food. And that's the one thing. And the other thing is they were really thankfully, this young people, they came from all over the world and they search a new home. And that was the beginning of my to try to give them a home. This pupil, these children cried for a home, for a warm home. They lost their homes, and now they were longing for a new home. And this was the beginning of the Bachmann pedagogic, if you like. It was clear before learning mathematics, German, English, or something else of these things, it was necessary that this young children feel good, find a room inside themselves, a room inside, a room outside, to come to Germany, to this place where they are living now, to get known their different cultures. There, in this class were 12 different cultures, 12 different nations, 12 different languages, and that was very, very nice to see that the home plate I could give them opened their hearts for social life in this classroom, which opens many possibilities, more and more, with many conflicts too. We had very often conflicts, misunderstandings, and so on. But it opens more and more a room. Or when the first half year was very hard in this class, very hard, because we scarcely can't understand one another. But then more and more they open against the children, with one children, with another, then 3, 4, always more. And the good thing was music. Music and mathematics. Mathematics is possible to learn, to teach without language. Yeah, it's a logical system. It's all over the world the same. You can take the 1, 2, 3s and the logic begins for everyone understandable. And music is more than mathematics. How could I say it? It's like your oranges in South Africa, like our oranges, orange in Europe. Music gives, if you jam together with other people, that makes the feeling together, that makes solidarity, that makes a good feeling for oneself, but more to be in a group with whom you, like for 20,000 years in our Stone Age time, yeah, that's the same time. And I made out of this class an Indian tribe who dances, who plays music. And that gave a big feeling of we are together, we belong together. Yeah, and all these things come before learning, or are always mixtured with learning. And that's why my English is not good. No, you understand me?
Yes, we understand you.
Okay, that's okay.
Yes.
And that's to see in the film. It was very astonishing that many pupils develop in a unbelievable way. Hassan, for example, was a boxer in a very high quality. Mattia was in television, in a television show as breakdancer, and so on. Suddenly there developed astonishing things. Yes? And I sat there with my apples, jonglieren, and looked into the class, and I was happy what was happening every day. Nearly every day, new things happened, and that's a real gift. You have to be patient. You must trust these children with whom you are in a school class. You must give them time, and each pupil has another time, has another code of time. You have to have trust. That's the word. You must give them time and trust, and then they develop, and astonishing things like some of them who are, you could see in the film, very nice. That was no plan to have these things photographed with a film. No? All these things you see there are had no plan. It passed. We had 250 hours film material. And yeah, the nicest part we cut together.
Thank you so much. Mary?
Rene, let me make sure I'm not on mute. You know, I'm so excited about this opportunity to exchange with the panel and Mr. Bachmann. So I'd like to come in and just comment on something that Mr. Bachmann has just said, which I just think is so profound, because he spoke about using music, and he said there's a set of things that come before learning. And in the movie, he also said something that I loved, which was that his feeling was that he wants to work with the kids, not against him. So I want to check with him that as a teacher, and I'm sure there's other teachers watching, it sounds to me as if Mr. Bachmann is saying, before you can have learning, before you can start with the maths, etc., what you have to have is learners who have confidence, who are curious, who feel recognized, who are authentic, who are curious. So what I saw in his interchange with the learners was the building of confidence, the building of curiosity, the building of authenticity through his own authenticity. So
yeah,
he said you have to have
individualism, individuality of each pupil, yeah, authenticity. That's right. Well, you speak very good English. That was very nice told, very good. I can't say it in German so nice as you in English, yes. But before the main thing is, as I began to be teacher, I did know one thing very exact. I don't want to go to school again, 13 years, annoying, and with this sleepy situation I had there, 13 years. 13 years with no genuine learning. I don't want to have again 13 years or 20, 30 years. I didn't want this. But I didn't know how to do it. And it began on the day I said, I was a little bit, the pupil made their homeworks, and we made the homework in school. And I began to jongle with the apples, and all half the people of the class stood around me. They want to jongle too. And we made a big placard where was standing the 5 steps of jongling. Whole the school must begin to jongle then, to jungle. Huh? Juggle that begins to juggle. And that was the beginning of my understanding. I can't teach. I must look what children wants to do, what they want to do, what are the interests, and not only the cognitive interest of these children. What are their emotional interest, their social interest, their interest to be creative. That was I began to ask the children, and the same with my son here, who always knows the world better than me. It's very good. I learned many things I learned from these children. And of course, children are in their way of learning in their possibilities to find a way to learn. Children know exactly how it goes like this, how to learn. They know their way, and I learned much about my own wrong learning. And one important thing is how I handle with mistakes. Mm. And I have this is very important. And I learned from the children this sentence. I tell you now the sentence, but I learned it from not in this cognitive way, but in this behavior way. I can make mistakes, many mistakes, but I'm not the mistake. You understand? I can make many mistakes, but my soul is not the mistake. And the problem in our school here in Germany is that pupils make mistakes in mathematics, in learning English or literature. And then the teacher distract them. Yeah, that's and I had pupil. They said to me, I had the impression I'm not allowed to breathe. Yeah, in this way, because I had a bad note in mathematics, and that's the thing I learned. First of all, never to hurt a child with notes about things who are important, more or less important, like mathematics and other things. But the souls of the children must be in a good health and must be everyone. It doesn't matter if he is very intelligent or less intelligent, if he is emotionally more intelligent or not. Every children has a right to go to school and to go home not destroyed. And that's the thing in our school system, many people, they don't want to do this. I don't say the teacher with us makes this with conscience, but it's a system who produces this illness of behavior. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Bachmann. Andisiwe, I was wondering if you would come in now and just reflect on your experiences as a teacher.
Yeah.
Earlier on, Mr. Bachmann had said to us he was curious that South Africans were so interested in this movie. So I was wondering if you could just come in now and reflect on some of what Mr. Bachmann has shared.
I definitely agree with everything that Mr. Bachmann has just said. And I can see similarities when he speaks about the system and how the way that it's set up doesn't really allow for us as teachers to be change agent teachers, for example, to really be able to go beyond the content and the pedagogy and really think about children holistically, and in terms of really trying to support children, to support them in all areas of their lives so that they can reach their full potential. And I actually had a question for Mr. Bachmann, just thinking about my own experience as a young teacher when I was teaching, and the experience of the many young teachers that we work with who really want to make a difference. And the system is set up in the way that it is. How do you, for 20 years, keep that motivation to continue to be authentic to who you are and to continue to be authentic and motivated to ensure that the children, you touch their souls and not just
cognitive. I understood. It's very easy. I hope I understood you well. What it was too quick. You are like 100-meter runner, but it doesn't matter. I think, every day is a day where you can make a decision. I want to sleep, I want to die, or I want to live. Yeah, And sometimes I went to school and I said to myself, I had some children, and this was in the nights with this Mac here, for example. He had a bad stomach and I run around with him all the night. And then the next day I said to myself, oh, I let them work, my pupil, and I sleep along with open ears, with open eyes. That didn't work. Children are again, it's always the children. Children want to live every day. They want to have adventure every day. They want to learn every day something about them, one with another. They are very, not as we all, or we are, not like us. We try to have calm and tranquility or very often, and meditation. No, that's nothing for children. Children want to have real life, and they want to have provocations, what they can do. They want to have an input, and then they want to try themselves. Can I do this or that? And so it was not a question I put to myself. I came in school, and yeah, children told me again what's going on this day. I came from the room of the teacher, and I had said to myself, today is the Satz des Pythagoras. Yeah, you know Pythagoras. Yeah. Okay. No, Pythagoras, c Quadrat gleich a Quadrat plus b Quadrat. No, you don't know. You don't know den Satz des Pythagoras, the sentence of Pythagoras, some thousand years old mathematic rule.
Oh, Pythagoras.
Yes, got it.
Okay. And then half the way to the classroom, there came some pupil, some girls, some boys, and they are hanging on me. Mr. Bachmann, we want to make music. Mr. Bachmann, we want to make music. My mathematic conscience was like snow in some meters. And okay, we play Highway to Hell from AC/DC and Stairway to Heaven and and then the world goes round with Stairway to Heaven and Highway to Hell. And it was, mathematics was on the next day. Yeah. And it's clear. I want to say one thing which is seen in film too. As teacher, you must be a strong tree. You can't always do what pupil wants from you. That's clear. But I mean, essentially, it's very important to hear into the class and to hear what they want to do. But sometimes you have to say no. Today is mathematics. Of course, in 1 week, we must write an examination and so on. And two boys are beating one another. You have to say no, and so on. That means you must do a very, that's for me always the biggest difficulty, to be a teacher who gave to the pupil a form, a sort of clearness, of rules of behavior, and to be with your person there. And okay, if you beat him on the nose again, then I think it's better for you don't do it. And so on. Also, it's a really difficult thing to be near to the pupil, to find a way to develop their possibilities. And on the other side, you can, as teacher, you can do the job as teacher if you come into the class that's not possible. And that was the reason, because 40 years ago, I finished this job, because I didn't want to say no when when they were struggling each other, when they were when anarchy was in a classroom. I didn't know how to manage this. And yeah, and that means that means this you see it in the beginning of the film. I put all the whole class out out of the classroom. Yes, why I said this? Why we have rituals when we are in classroom? In the beginning, nobody talks, and when somebody whispers, whole the class goes out. And you make it 2-3 times, and then it's okay. You must not discuss about these things. We want to do something else. We hear one each other, but it's not possible that everyone talks or runs around. Yeah, and that was a long process for me to learn. I can be a kind man, but I can be yeah. The wild.
Thank you for that.
I'm the wild pig when it's going across the tables. Yes.
No, that does come out strongly, Mr. Bachmann. Balance, Mary.
One can see it in film. Yes.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I thought that I might not ask another question, but I'm so interested in what Mr. Bachmann's just said. Now, that I want to do a follow-up. So if you asked me to characterize how I see you as a teacher, I could talk for a long time, but there's this question of being authentic, true to yourself. And I think that you are hugely courageous in how you push learners. And I want to use 2 examples. I want to use the example of some of your discussion with children and their families, where what I saw was you having the courage to push the families to say, perhaps this learner might have possibilities that you haven't imagined. Okay? And that's quite a hard place to be, because you're pushing the boundaries of what a teacher does as uninvolved and as a teacher who comes into a family situation and says, can you think differently? Now, there's lots of boundaries that I think you are very careful in pushing, but quite carefully. So that would be one with a family. The other one that I found so beautiful was the interchange, and there's several of them. The one on the homophobic response, where you question, why? And you don't push, you ask. But I'm also interested in the school as an institution. And if you get pushback from colleagues about saying you can't do it like that, if you get pushback from families saying this is private, and how you yourself determine how far to push.
That's a very sensitive thing. I always decided in a situation. Because there's, for example, one situation with Hassan. He asked me, Mr. Bachmann, he asked, what about your own parents? Are they in the same way polite and kindly as you? And I never, in 30 years teacher, I never told something about my parents. But I knew, as the explanation now for Hassan, for this situation, I knew that Hassan has his father has an alcohol problem at home. And so as I decided, I hesitated a little moment. One can see it. I saw myself there, and I hesitated. I didn't know exactly, but then I put my courage, as you told, and said to me, this Hassan has a very good emotional relationship to me, and now I can tell him a lie, or I can say nothing. I can't say nothing. That's not possible. I must in this situation, I decided exceptionally, I tell him what was going on with alcoholics in my own family.
Yeah.
And I think it was okay. It was okay. But you are right. You are really right. It's a really very sensitive and very difficult thing to decide. And now in another situation, I didn't. I said nothing in this situation.
Right.
Or yeah, or in another situation like this was, as Steffi asked me, Mr. Bachmann, when did you have your first sex? Yeah. und da habe ich, I hesitated too in this situation. What should I say now? And my husband from an earlier time was a psychologist and scientific psychologist, and I remember to me they had a scientific research about this question: when do young people have their first sex? And in correspondence to their to their intellectual possibilities. And I tell this to the people, and then came this really very, very nice situation that Genghis Khan says, Mr. Bachmann, I understood you. You know, all the class knows I'm not so intelligent. Then I can have sex now very early, yeah. Cengiz, I said, you understood it, but it's not right. It's not right. You are intelligent. You will not have so early sex. And that's possible. That's creative communication. I would tell this. It's the question from nobody asked me then, Mr. Bachmann, when you have sex. This question, there was an interest, but I gave this interest back to the pupil, because it was their interest. When should I have the first time sex? It is okay with 11, 12 years. And I didn't say this, and then I told this thing, and I had a very nice discussion with the whole class. And I think they were satisfied. And nobody asked me again, did you have the first time sex? I don't know it really, but besides, I don't know, it was too long ago. But it's something, it does not belong to the pupil, into the class. My own sex life does not belong into school room. But what does belong is the questions they have for themselves. What about me? There are many Muslima, yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bachmann. One of the themes that certainly comes up very strongly is the balance. So you send students out, like you say, you teach them calmness and stillness, but you also value the creativity, the music, and the play. That comes out quite strongly. And I wondered, as we think about, there's a point where you discuss complexity. And you say that, well, you thought that really by, being really complex and playing complex music, that the students will then value that. And you learned that, no, actually, that's not the case. So I was wondering if you could just reflect a bit more of how you have dealt with this complexity, because you shift. You say, no, it's not working this way. Let me try something else.
Yeah, but it's always the same when nobody plays any instrument when we came together. Nobody. And in the meantime, all pupils, I know them again, had stopped play instruments. Nobody plays along. And that is music has a special thing. I said music is something you know it from yourself. 1, 2, 3. You learn piano. No. Many. I know many friends of mine. As children, they learned an instrument. But after some years, they stopped and they never played along. And that's the same, yeah. The thing of music is making music in a very elementary form together. That's the thing. And that's perhaps the possibility I had all my life. I'm sitting around anywhere. and I have a drum or my guitar, and it does not long. It's not no long time. 10 people are standing around and make music with me. That was on Berlinale, the same. I had my guitar with me, and suddenly my guitar was in my hand, and I was sitting around there under 500-600 people and began to play. And people say, "Oh, Mr. Bachmann plays this and this. We want to sing," and then we sang together there. There was no star born. No, Mr. Bachmann sang on Berlinale in Berlin with the people together, and it was a really fine feeling. It's always for me like first time standing on the moon or something like that. In this way, it's really very, very interesting. And yeah, and in this class we were 2 years together. Jamie played the bass, Hassan, Ayman, some others played Schlagzeug, no, also drums. Ilknur played keyboard and so on. And they grew better. But I never saw that they exercised with an instrument. I never saw someone sitting around and say, "Oh, I have to do the guitar. I have to do it." No, it developed this. That's a sort of learning. It developed always in learning by doing. Yeah, and if you like, yeah, and this doing is. Doing together, music is a big motivation to be near to be together and to be near. A group is near, inside, and then it's astonishing what small children show for possibilities, musician possibility. It's this Steffi, yeah, she could sing like an Arabian instrument, like a zas, for example. She could sing with quarter and with quarter tones and so on. She left the 12-tone music of our European context. And it was really, yeah, that in African tradition exists the same. It was really, really astonishing. But everyone alone at home, nobody takes the guitar in his hand. It's for children not interested. They want to do it together. They want to play together in a genuine way, to play together. Like John Lennon said, to play together.
Thank you so much for that. I think we're going to open up for some questions now. And let's see, we do have some. So earlier on, there were just some comments around just the value of rituals. And there was, just appreciation for your comment around that we are not a mistake. We make mistakes, but we are not a mistake. But now some questions. So the first one says, thank you so much for showing courage and kindness. For me, the combination of real honesty, forthrightness, and care for the students was so lovely to see. Did you ever get into trouble with your unorthodox methods? Talking openly about sex, as you've mentioned, relationships, did being personal ever, was it ever frowned upon by your institution, so by your other colleagues?
Well, it's difficult to tell. In school, the school in Stadt Allendorf was a very big school with more than 1,000 pupils, more than 100 teachers. And it's not, as you saw, it's not an easy situation. And everyone, first of all, is busy with his to overlive the situation as teacher for himself. Yeah, and you have not big time to look into another classroom. That's one thing. People are really
focused on themselves.
Huh?
Focused on themselves.
Was sagst du? They are focused on themselves. So, yeah, and the other thing is, yeah, I had many referendare. That means I had teachers who
reference points
came with me into the class, and I have to educate the teachers too. Yeah, also the young teachers, and that was always a very good situation. Because I learned from them, they learned from me, and there I had many positive critics. The same thing from the school government. They found it good what I did. But as more and more I became popular in school, long before the film was made, and there it began to be yeah. Was heißt Neid auf Englisch? Yeah, it's always difficult when people begin to compare each other. Then it's a sort of fight there, and then there were difficult situations for me, because I grew. The thing I did was in a pedagogic thing, always modern. Yeah, people told me that scientifics, it's modern what you do, but I didn't make a head. I didn't make explanations for that. What I did. One thing what you said, most of the teachers do a very traditional job. They are. The education of teacher in our land in Hessen is very modern, is good. But when they have their examination, plop, they are two days later, they are teachers like 100 years ago. They begin to be such kind of teacher as they get known it themselves as pupils. And they begin to take this old way, without big reflections. nothing. That's a really astonishing thing. And what I've done is then in the eyes of these teachers, I wasn't a rebel, because I said to Hassan Monday morning, you are tired. Then he slept 5 hours. Or one time a week we had pizza or döner day, and we eat together 2 hours, eating. I had a pupil who could eat five döners. We tried it, 5 döners. It was really interesting how hungry this pupil were. I said in the film to Anastasia, I said to her, Anastasia, why you are so sad that you have a note, that you have a 2 and your cousin Regina has a 1. It's the first time since 6 years that she's better than you. That's very nice. You can be glad your cousin is 1 time better than you. You remember the scene, eh? And then like, no, I always want to be the best, and I don't want to learn, but I learn because I want to have this, and then I say something no teacher can say in a normal. I said, dear Anastasia, when I have no, wie sagt man, Lust?
Energy.
When I have no energy to learn, I say, no, I don't learn. I make something else, or I sleep. And as teacher, to say something like this as teacher is a rebellion against the whole system. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And such things, the teachers around me looked always low. What will he say in the next moment? Yeah. So, and it was a certain form of pleasure for me then when a big conference was, then I said, one time I said, the half of our colleagues here are sleeping. You notice this, my director? We can let them sleep like me in my lessons. Say to them, abtauchen, sleep all. And it's, I had always, there are in school is to lying, not to see the reality is one abstraction who's beloved. But when you say, no, these children are tired, then they can sleep, or this teacher there is today very, very ill, let him go home. That's always easy things, easy human things. No. Yeah. You can't do it. You can't do it. Then you are a rebel or and I'm no special man. I'm only someone who likes it to be myself. And to be myself, that means to be as honest as I can. When I'm tired, I'm tired. When I don't want to learn, then I don't learn, and so on. And this thing, people laughed with me, and they gave me honest answers because I gave them honest speech.
Honest.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. The next 2 questions are really about the filmmaking process. So I was wondering if you could perhaps just respond to both of them. You know, it's a wonderful, inspiring film. But if you can just reflect on how the children seemed somehow unself-conscious. So they weren't really conscious about the camera. The other question says, how did the filmmaker manage to be so unobtrusive? Are you able to reflect on that? Yeah,
that was quite easy. More than half a year before the film begins, yeah, they were in class with me. The film team, the whole film team was with me in class, without camera, without lamps, without microphones. And yeah, they were part of the class, they grew part of the class. And they eat with the people, with the pupil, they made homeworks with them. I had 5 teachers more, as usually. And they made friends with one another. There were friendships, there grew friendships. Reinhold Vorschneider, the first cameraman, was very close to Genghis Khan. And then Reinhold Vorschneider won the German prize of Camera Prize in this time. And Genghis was so glad to know such a famous man. And yes, and then as the film begins, it was quite natural that these people were there. They belonged to the class. It was nothing special. And so with a little bit happiness again, there you had the situation when you look into the film, there is no Eitelkeit, was heißt das in English?
Self-conscious.
Arrogance.
There's no arrogance, no selfishness. For me, not from the pupil. It's a very, very normal situation, and that's a gift for the film. It's really a gift, because these children, in front of all these children, you can see developments with some children there, very natural. And when Ferhan was every day, one time she was weeping, she was crying. But she never told to herself, oh, I can't cry because the camera is there also in this way. It was a form of trust, from confidence to the team, to the camera team. Yeah.
So thank you so much. I think as we move towards closing, I want to go back to Mary and Andisiwe. When we began, Mr. Bachmann asked a question, like, I'm curious, why are South Africans interested in this film? And so I was wondering if we could try and attempt a response for him. Why has it touched us so?
I'm waiting for Andisiwe to go first.
Should I go ahead first? Okay. Thanks so much, Mary. So I think from my perspective, I think there are a lot of similarities. I mean, in terms of the complexity that our children bring into the classroom, they come into the classroom with a lot of complexity, and teachers have to navigate this. They're not just teachers of curriculum. They're not just teachers of content. They're having to sort of figure out and understand all of the socioeconomic, psychosocial issues that children are bringing into the classroom, and having to bring them to that point of wanting to learn. And I think that is like the thing that really comes across in the film. And that's something that we're definitely wanting to tap into as South Africans as well, that ability to be able to navigate all of this complexity. But also with us, I think there is also like the level of the system and the policies, and the fact that we have a very outcome-based curriculum, outcome-based policies, which sometimes almost make it very difficult for the teacher to be able to do that that first bit, that ability to be able to see the child for the child and not chase for certain results and chase for certain things and not be bogged down by administration. And I think we have a lot of teachers who are very motivated, who want to be change agent teachers, who want to do so much more than just deliver curriculum. And they're having to try and find ways of doing that. And I think sharing the story, teachers are able to see themselves in the story and are able to see things that they can sort of take from it and be able to apply within their own context. And I'm a very strong believer in storytelling. And I think I just want to thank Mr. Bachmann again for sharing his story, because through his story, teachers are able to see themselves and they're able to sort of see ways in which they can navigate the space, try and really bring about a difference in the children's lives that they're teaching, because a lot of teachers come into the teaching profession with that motivation of wanting to make a difference in children's lives, wanting to enable children to reach their full potential. And so I think that is where the interest really lies. It's just seeing such a beautiful story of something that is so different, but also so similar in terms of the context of the children, and being able to sort of see how we can take from that and really build an education system that really allows for children to grow into their full potential in all areas of their lives.
Can I, before Mary responds, Andisiwe, can I ask, do you think it would be possible, this sort of transformative education, do you think it's possible in bigger classes, or is it something that's just a lot more possible to see a child as a whole, to work with the child as a whole when it's more small and intimate?
I think it is. I think it's difficult with bigger classes, but I do think that there are possibilities. I think there's just so many things that we need to sort of shift in terms of how we support our teachers, in terms of what we allow our teachers to be able to do, in terms of the hierarchical nature of schools. I think schools are hierarchical, not only at a level of like principal, deputy principal, teacher, but also in terms of how we engage with our kids. So I think there's just so much cultural shift that needs to happen, that the possibility is there. I think it is a lot more difficult with a bigger class. I do genuinely think it's a lot more difficult, but I do think human connections are possible, even in spaces where you do have lots of children.
Thank you, Andisiwe. Mary?
Thank you, Rene. You know, I love everything that Andisiwe has said about the complexity of that has to be navigated, and also the hunger of teachers to be what Mr. Bachmann has shown us is possible. Because in the context of your question, the material reality and the structural realities are different in many ways. We don't have the resources. I mean, Andisiwe and any of the teachers watching will be salivating to say, if I had a classroom with that resource, you know, yes. But I think that what we know is that there's also similarities. And the similarities, I think, firstly, is this commitment of Mr. Bachmann to an inclusive society, a society where you have these migrations of people under unequal circumstances is what we experience in South Africa, with people moving into our country who have the same level of alienation and non-inclusion, and also inclusion in terms of, for example, gender identities, inclusion in terms of ethnic identities are very familiar to us. So I think for me, I absolutely agree with Andisiwe that our education system prioritizes content. It prioritizes that you've got to learn A, B, C, D in a certain time frame. And I think that what Mr. Bachmann has shown us, and which teachers are definitely going to identify with, that the question is not what are they learning of history, geography, science, but what are they learning about themselves? What are they learning about confidence? What are they learning about being curious, being confident enough to be curious? And a form of pedagogy that values that, and a form of assessment that values that. Not what do they know now, but where will this child be in 6 months' time because they're becoming intellectually curious. All teachers will recognize that, despite the fact that we're in a very different situation of not having resources and having the whip on us in terms of content. So I love what Andisiwe said. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Bachmann, what would you like as the main takeaway? What do you want us to remember about this film? What is the main thing, the main message you want us to take away?
Deine Message, deine finale Message.
Yes, in German, I could say, I'm quite say something to you, but I'm not so clever as this fantastic woman there. In English, not so good. I think one thing I can say in English, it's an easy and important thing. Confidence is really the heart of all, and that means school must be a place where emotions are important. Yeah. As all the emotions, and I mean social emotions. We are no individuals. We are men, and men needs men, and to have this confidence in making, in like you said it, to find yourself not in a room where you are alone, to find yourself with other children, in an emotional way, in an emotional code. Yeah. That's really, really important, and teacher must bring their emotions, their authenticity. They must be courageous enough to show themselves. I myself asked me always, as I was a pupil, who is this teacher there? He comes in, stood at the table, at the table. He does not look to us. 2 hours, and then he went away. I didn't know. I'm not sure if he know where he was. And I always ask me, who are this man behind the teacher, this woman behind the teacher? I never had the chance to get them known. And that's this side of the teacher. It's very important to be authentic and to be erkennbar. That to be recognized by the pupil, that pupil can recognize a teacher as a man with a certain character, with mistakes and with positive things and so on, as normal. Yeah? That means that's not so easy. We talked about it for half an hour. It's not so easy. You cannot show all things of you, but to be courageous, I'm Mr. Bachmann, and I go to school, and Mr. Miller goes to school, and Mrs. Miller goes to school as Mrs. Miller. And one can, was heißt unterscheiden? One can
divide between.
Huh?
Divide between.
One can divide between them. And that's listen to, or it's not much, but it's not easy to show oneself as a certain person with things like me, with a family from alcoholics and so on. Yeah, and it's not so easy, but it's important, because what I wanted to say. School is a social place besides a family, where you can make social experiences, emotional social experiences, and school must have a focus on this fact. School is a place of socialization, socialization of hearts.
Good.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I think we'll take our final question. We have a question which is broadly around young people. How do we support young people to listen to themselves? So you spoke earlier about building the self-confidence. This question asks, how do we support young people to listen to themselves and their own needs and to discover their passions, and so removing barriers to learning?
Ich habe es nicht verstanden.
Ja, wie du junge Schüler und Schülerinnen dazu bringst, dass sie auf sich selber hören, dass sie auf ihre eigenen Sachen hören.
Auf ihre eigenen Sachen?
Ja, dass sie Selbstbewusstsein aufbauen und so.
Also that's a secret, I don't know. I gave them rooms, inner rooms, outer rooms, and then I can act for instead of pupil, instead of the children. Some make it more or less. Hassan, for example, in this class, furious development of courageous to show himself before the class and before me, and that's there is no it happens when you are lucky. And when it doesn't happen, you can ask yourself what you can do that it may happen. But yeah, there not all things in education you can make a plan, or you can say I do A and then B and C is following. That's not in this way. One little story I tell you now. Yeah, really nice story. There was in a class before this class, there was a boy named Emre, a Turkish boy. Each day he had his fights with other boys, yeah, and really cruel, with much blood. And I said to the mother, to the father, we have to speak. They didn't come to school. What could I do? And I said to the father of Emre per telephone, I come to your home. Is it okay? Yes, come to us. You are invited. 4 o'clock tomorrow. 5 o'clock tea, yeah. Turkish tea, yes. Then the family put me on the sofa between the opa and grandfather, father. Emre was there, on the other side, and he didn't say anything. And I wanted to speak with the father, with the family, about Emre's aggression. No, I had to drink sugared tea. Oh, tea was so much sugar. So much sugar, and I was feted. I must eat all the kitchen through. So, and then happened the following thing. The father told me, I'm now Hajj. Oh, Hajj. In Germany, there is Karl May. You don't know Karl May and Charles May. No, you don't know. That's a Western held who was in Asia all too. I read as children, as young children, many books about Hajjs and this adventure to be a pilgrim in Mecca. And this man he was just coming back from Medina to Mecca on his knees, and he told me about Brunnen Zemzem, the holy water, and all the rituals. So, and it was very fine for me. I listened to him and I learned much, and I had some information. I had two, and he was astonished when I said, Hajj al-Foma, bin Hajj Abul Abbas, im Hajj Davud al-Gusara, and you know the name of all these Hajj, yeah, and so on. So then you have to go tomorrow, he told me, with us into Blaue Moschee. That's a big moschee in Stadt Allendorf. Then I said, okay, then you have to come to me. I live in the Blaue House, okay? Yeah. And then I went away. And now the astonishing fact, really, pay attention. It was very rare from this day on, very rare, that Emre beats himself. I didn't speak to this family, to this man, one word about Emre's aggression. But I was 4 hours in their family. I ate with them. I heard the stories of Islam. And I was interested in it, and they noticed it. And I went home. I didn't speak one word about Emre's aggression, and it was very seldom that he had aggressions from this day. Huh? A good story. I go out and I said to myself, oh, Bachmann, what have you? You wanted to speak about Emre's aggression, and you drink here sugared tea and eat that you can't run home now, and nothing happened, and tomorrow he'll beat again. But it doesn't happen. I was a small part of this family from this moment, and we went together to moschee sometimes, the father and I, and yeah, the problem with Emre was good.
Thank you. That's a really powerful story. Thank you.
That shows in a certain way, this story shows more. This shows how important is social come together in a social way, to be interested in one another. And that means not only school. This film is more than a film about school. This film is a film who shows the possibility of social relationships and what may happen when, in all questions, what may happen when these social relationships can develop on a place like school. And with this small story, you can see what happens when people who are living there. I think myself, afterwards, I was the first European who was in this family, in this Turkish family. Yeah, I was the first. And for them, for these men that had a really big meaning, I could only feel when I went out. I had a good feeling when I went out. But later on, as I saw, this Emre had changed in a very strange way, in a very magic way. I knew, yeah, Bachmann, the social identity young people can develop at school is very important. And it is important to have a relationship to the parents too. Parents belong to school in the same way as teachers, as pupil.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Thank you so much for that.
That was it.
Thank you so much.
I hope I could, with my
wonderful,
astonishing bad English, could say a little bit for you.
Oh, you wasn't bad at all.
I knut you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much. There are so many comments.
I thank you. It's really very nice for me to be in a digital way in South Africa with this. It's really it's fast verrückt.
Crazy.
It's crazy. I'm here in Marburg town, in the middle of Western Germany, and you are in South Africa.
Yeah.
Kapstadt and so on. That's really Well, it's a good thing, yeah.
At the same time.
At the same time. At the same time.
Absolutely, Mr. Bachmann. Thank you so much. Really, thank you, Mary. Thank you. Thank you for your insightful comments. And just
you are Mary?
Such a pleasure. Mary did invite you to come and visit.
Okay.
She said you are welcome.
Yes.
Perhaps
so
we
thank you
see
so much.
us once again in hell or heaven. We'll see.
Definitely.
Make it
Thank
good.
you so much. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Andisiwe. And thank you very much, Mr. Bachmann. Danke, and really.
One question I had at last.
You have to say thank you to your son.
I have one question. Why there are only women? Where are the men? They are not interested in...
They're very interested, but we are a very inclusive society, see?
Okay. Good.
So thank you to you, the audience. Thank you for the questions, for wonderful comments just around this respect and home and belonging and arts education. We recognize all of your feedback. Please go out and watch this film, and please watch this and other films. The festival ends on the 24th of October. Films are free. And can be accessed via the website at www.eurofilmfest.co.za. Thank you all for joining us. Dankeschön. Thank you, everybody, and have a very good evening. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
So wonderful having you with us. And can you please thank your son?
Yeah, we want to see your son.
Yes, we want to see your son.
I want to sing with you together.
Yes.
70 from Janis Joplin, you know it? Janis Joplin.
Jolie.
Let's do this. Oh Lord, won't you buy me a
Mercedes-Benz?
Oh no, my birthday, I must make amends. Worked hard all my lifetime, no help from my friends. Oh Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes-Benz? Okay.
Woo! Thank you, Bachmann. Thank you, and good night, everybody.